London, 2002, 3 a.m. A systems administrator sits in his girlfriend's cramped apartment, curtains drawn, cigarette smoke curling around a glowing monitor. On his screen, something no civilian was ever meant to see. A spreadsheet buried deep inside a U.S. Navy server. The column headers read, Non-Terrestrial Officers. Below them, names with military ranks. Names that don't match any known military roster anywhere on Earth. But the spreadsheet isn't all. On a NASA server, he found an image, something cigar-shaped hovering above Earth, something that doesn't look human. Next to that file, another document. Fleet-to-fleet transfers. Transfers between ships that don't officially exist in any naval registry. His hands are trembling so badly he can barely grip the mouse. He reaches for the download button, but the connection stutters. The image loads line by line on his dial-up modem, and then, before the file fully renders, the screen goes black. Someone just killed his connection, remotely. From the other side of the Atlantic, someone is watching him right now. He doesn't know it yet, but he's just committed what the US government will call the biggest military computer hack of all time. 97 networks. The Pentagon, NASA, US Army, US Navy, Air Force, all breached by one man in his pajamas with a 56 kilobit dial-up connection and a theory about UFOs. His name is Gary McKinnon. Online, he goes by Solo, and the next decade of his life is about to become a living nightmare. But what exactly did he find? And why did the most powerful government on Earth spend 10 years trying to bury him for it? Rewind to the late 1990s. Gary McKinnon is a 30-something Scottish guy living in North London. Shaggy hair, soft-spoken, the kind of person you'd walk past on the street without a second glance. Got his first computer at 14, an Atari 400, and never looked back. Dropped out of school, drifted through odd jobs, even worked as a hairdresser before finding his way into IT. Now he works as a systems administrator, fixing computers, setting up networks. Nothing glamorous. His girlfriend's apartment is cluttered with tangled cables, old hard drives, and stacks of books about government cover-ups. Because at night, Gary has an obsession that consumes every waking hour. He believes the United States government is hiding evidence of extraterrestrial contact and advanced technology from the entire world. Not just UFOs spotted in the sky, anti-gravity propulsion systems, free energy. Technology so revolutionary it could end poverty and transform human civilization overnight. He's read every book on the subject, watched every documentary, followed every whistleblower testimony. And Gary isn't some fringe lunatic. He's methodical, patient. He cross-references sources and tracks down obscure government documents, but all of it leads to the same wall. The information is sealed, classified, untouchable. Then, in May 2001, something pushes him over the edge. The Disclosure Project holds a major press conference at the National Press Club in Washington, D.C. Over 20 former military officers, intelligence officials, and government scientists go on the record, publicly stating that UFOs are real, that captured spacecraft have been reverse engineered, and that free energy technology exists, but is being actively suppressed. Gary watches the broadcast in his girlfriend's apartment, and something clicks inside his head. These aren't random conspiracy theorists on the internet. These are credible people with decades of service and security clearances, risking their entire careers to speak publicly. If they're telling the truth, the evidence must be somewhere inside those government networks. And one night, Gary asks himself a question that will change his life forever. What if I just go look for myself? See, Gary isn't some script kiddie running pre-built tools from hacker forums. He's a trained systems administrator who grew up tinkering with that Atari 400, inspired by the movie War Games, where Matthew Broderick hacked into the Pentagon from his bedroom. Now, decades later, Gary is about to do it for real. He knows Windows networks inside and out, and he knows something most people in 2001 don't realize. Thousands of US government and military computers are running Windows with default administrator passwords, blank passwords, no password at all. The most powerful military in human history, guarding its most sensitive networks with the digital equivalent of an unlocked front door and a welcome mat. Gary writes a simple Perl script that scans massive IP ranges, capable of probing up to 65,000 machines in under 8 minutes, looking for Windows machines with open administrator shares. It's not sophisticated, no zero-day exploit, no social engineering. It's like jiggling every doorknob on a very long street and walking into the ones that open. He runs it at night when fewer administrators are monitoring. And doors start opening, everywhere, dozens, then hundreds. Military installations, research facilities, naval stations. Gary can barely believe what he's seeing. Some of the most sensitive networks in the world are sitting wide open. The first system he infiltrates is a U.S. Army computer. He pokes around, reads some internal memos, nothing earth-shaking, but his heart is hammering against his ribs. He's inside a military network from a cramped living room in North London, connected through a wheezing dial-up modem. The connection is painfully slow. Images take minutes to load. Large files are impossible to download, but Gary doesn't care about speed. He's not looking for weapon specifications or troop movements. He's looking for one thing: proof. Night after night, he tunnels deeper. He installs a remote administration program called Remotely Anywhere on compromised machines so he can come back later without repeating the whole process. He signs up for the software's free trial using his girlfriend's email address. A careless, almost absurdly stupid mistake that will eventually destroy him. But right now, he doesn't think about that. He hops from network to network, using each foothold to reach deeper into the system. Pentagon, Army, Navy, Air Force, NASA. He moves like a ghost, staying quiet, reading files, cleaning up after himself. Or so he thinks. During one late-night session inside NASA's Johnson Space Center network, Gary stumbles onto something that stops him cold. A high-resolution photograph, not a standard satellite image, something entirely different. He later describes it as a smooth, cigar-shaped object hovering above the Earth's upper atmosphere. No rivets, no seams, no exhaust, no visible propulsion of any kind, just a sleek, gleaming craft that doesn't match anything in human aviation history. The image begins loading on his dial-up, line by line, pixel by pixel. He watches it build from the top down, holding his breath. But the file is massive. His modem can't handle it. Before the image fully renders, the connection drops. When he tries to reconnect, the pathway is closed. That NASA workstation has been patched. The image is gone forever. Gary never saves it. He has no proof. But the hook is set deep. He pushes harder than ever. Then comes the discovery that nearly breaks his brain. Deep inside a U.S. Navy network, Gary finds the spreadsheet. Non-Terrestrial Officers, a list of names with military ranks that don't appear on any publicly available roster. None of them exist in any branch of the armed forces, not officially. Right beside it, records of fleet-to-fleet transfers between ships with designations that don't match any known U.S. naval vessel. Is this evidence of a secret space program, officers stationed off-planet? Gary needs more time. He needs to copy these files. But before he can dig deeper, his screen goes dark. The connection is severed, and this time, it isn't his modem failing. Someone has cut him off deliberately. But Gary doesn't just take what he finds and leave quietly. As he moves through these military networks, he leaves messages on compromised systems. On one Army computer, he types a taunt that will haunt him for the rest of his life. "Your security is crap." On another, something far more provocative. U.S. foreign policy is akin to government-sponsored terrorism these days. It was not a mistake that there was a huge security stand down on September 11th last year. I am solo. I will continue to disrupt at the highest levels. In Gary's mind, he's a whistleblower exposing incompetence. In the eyes of the United States government, he's just written a declaration of war. On the other side of the Atlantic, alarms are going off. Pentagon intrusion detection teams have been tracking anomalous access for weeks. The patterns are amateur, almost laughably sloppy. The intruder isn't even using a VPN. But then, the damage escalates beyond embarrassment. Gary accidentally crashes an entire network of 2,000 computers at a U.S. military district in Washington, D.C. For 24 hours, critical systems go dark. Around the same time, he breaches the Earl Naval Weapons Station in New Jersey and deletes critical weapons logs, knocking 300 computers offline for a week and effectively halting ammunition supply to the U.S. Navy's Atlantic Fleet. All of this happens in the immediate aftermath of September 11th. America is at its highest alert in decades. Fighter jets are patrolling the skies, intelligence agencies are hunting sleeper cells, and some unknown intruder is crippling military networks from inside, leaving taunting messages signed "Solo." The U.S. government doesn't care about UFOs, they want blood. Investigators trace the Remotely Anywhere software on the compromised machines back to its trial registration. The email address used to sign up belongs to Gary's girlfriend. That's how the most wanted military hacker in the entire world gets caught. Not by some brilliant counterintelligence operation, by a free trial email. From there, UK authorities track down the flat in North London. In March 2002, officers from the National High-Tech Crime Unit knock on the door. Gary answers. He doesn't run, he doesn't resist, he doesn't even look surprised. He looks like what he is, a tired, red-eyed, unemployed systems administrator who got too deep into something he couldn't control. He's arrested. Every hard drive seized. During the interview, Gary tells them everything without a lawyer present. The Perl script, the blank passwords, the NASA photograph, the spreadsheet. He says he was looking for UFOs and suppressed free energy technology. He speaks with the earnest conviction of someone who genuinely believes he's done something important for humanity, not something criminal. The investigators exchange glances. This isn't a spy, but the damage is real. The U.S. government tallies $700,000 in emergency repairs across multiple agencies, 97 computers compromised, classified networks breached, critical military systems knocked offline in the worst possible moment in modern American history. The United States demands extradition. The charges carry up to 70 years in federal prison. 70 years for a man who says he was looking for aliens using blank passwords. Gary's lawyers warn him the situation is even worse than the sentence suggests. In the post-9/11 climate, the messages he left on military computers, calling U.S. policy government-sponsored terrorism, have transformed him from an eccentric hacker into something far more dangerous in American eyes. There are real fears he could be sent to Guantanamo Bay. Gary is offered a plea deal. Plead guilty, serve 3 to 4 years. But the offer isn't put in writing. Gary's legal team doesn't trust a verbal promise from prosecutors who are publicly calling this the biggest military hack in history. He refuses. He'd rather fight extradition than gamble his life on a handshake deal. What follows is one of the longest extradition battles in British legal history. Gary's case explodes into the public consciousness. Support groups form overnight. Petitions gather hundreds of thousands of signatures because the public sees what the legal system sometimes forgets. Gary McKinnon isn't a terrorist. He isn't a spy. He's a man with Asperger's syndrome and an obsession with extraterrestrials who walked through doors the military forgot to lock. His lawyers argue extradition would violate his human rights under the European Convention. Psychiatrists warn that an American supermax prison could push him to take his own life. The case climbs through every level of the British courts: High Court, House of Lords, Supreme Court, European Court of Human Rights, appeal after appeal, each dragging on for years. His mother, Janice Sharp, becomes his fiercest warrior. She campaigns tirelessly, writes to every politician who will listen, appears on television, organizes rallies, even runs for parliament in protest. Pink Floyd's David Gilmour records a protest single called "Chicago Change the World" with Chrissie Hynde and Bob Geldof to raise awareness for Gary's case. Journalists, civil liberties organizations, members of parliament from both sides of the aisle all join the fight. London Mayor Boris Johnson publicly calls Gary a classic British nut job who deserves protection, not prosecution. The question on everyone's lips is devastating. Should a man really face 70 years in prison for embarrassing the most powerful military on Earth? Meanwhile, Gary is stuck. A full decade of his life, frozen in amber. No trial, no resolution, no closure. Just the constant, grinding threat of being shipped across an ocean to spend the rest of his existence in a concrete cell. He can't work. He can't leave the country. He barely leaves the apartment. The man who hacked the Pentagon is now a prisoner in his own home, slowly disintegrating under the weight of uncertainty and fear. October 2012. After 10 exhausting years, British Home Secretary Theresa May stands before Parliament and blocks Gary McKinnon's extradition. The medical evidence is overwhelming. Sending him would risk his life. The US government is livid, but the decision is final. Shortly after, the UK's Crown Prosecution Service declines domestic charges, citing the impossibility of building a case when all evidence sits in another country. Gary is free, no prison, no trial. After a decade, he walks away. But here's what makes this story impossible to forget. Gary McKinnon was never proven wrong. The US government never addressed his specific claims, not once, not in any courtroom, press conference, or official statement. The Non-Terrestrial Officers spreadsheet, the fleet-to-fleet transfers between unregistered ships, the NASA photograph. None of it was ever explained, debunked, or even acknowledged. The military simply labeled him a dangerous criminal and demanded his imprisonment. They never said, that spreadsheet doesn't exist. They never said, those files were routine personnel records. They just wanted him silenced. Now, is it possible Gary was a conspiracy theorist who saw extraordinary patterns in ordinary data? Sure. Could the officers listed be personnel assigned to a classified satellite program with an unusual naming convention? Maybe. But the government's total refusal to discuss what he found, combined with their decade-long, multi-million-dollar crusade to imprison a man with Asperger's who used blank passwords, raises a question that simply refuses to die. If Gary found nothing important, why did they want him so badly? Today, Gary lives quietly in London. He doesn't hack anymore. But every time a new whistleblower comes forward about UFOs, every time a Pentagon official admits there are things in our skies they can't explain, people remember the name Gary McKinnon, the man who went looking for the truth inside the most guarded networks on the planet, and found something that somebody very powerful wanted to stay hidden.